Music for. The right music has the power to heal, to cleansing, and to uplift the entire building and the entire being. And music produces a kind of pleasure which human nature cannot do without. Hello, my name is Dinis Guarda, and welcome to our Cities ABC Open Business Council series. And in this case is Music for, with my friend and partner on this series, Amrita Sen. So we're going to be talking about how music touches our lives and how music for can actually open a lot of doors in terms of the way we are, first of all, trying to heal ourselves, trying to breathe in the middle of the chaos of our modern life, but as well try to go to ancestral histories, mythologies, and especially how can we improve our well-being, our lives, with somehow putting music on background, but music as a much more universal concept. So Amrita is quite well known. I don't need to explain too much, and you know that this is our series. But I want to talk today about music for career. And I think the title is Music for Career Management. You shrink before you expand. Amrita, to you.
Awesome. Well, that's a big topic. I wanted to share some experiences I've had recently in the professional setting and my observations I've had, particularly of women of a certain age, who I think are big customers of music for well-being. They are women who've dedicated their lives towards the betterment of others. They're women who've dedicated their lives towards raising children and taking care of their parents. I want to highlight these women because not only because I've observed them, but I feel that what I say and what I do to aid them could make a dent in their lives. So I'll go from my observations and I'll go to where I think we can, as friends and family, make a dent in these women's lives. My observation with women who are intelligent women who've dedicated their lives to the betterment of others is that generally they've faced three distinct areas of activity in their day and hence their lives. Those three distinct areas are raising children, their professional career, and taking care of aging parents. I know I'm speaking to a lot of people who find women who find their time split, sometimes three ways between these three areas. I've also found that what happens many times is that number two, the professional career, gets crowded out by the raising of the children and by the taking care of their aging parents. And I have had so many experiences working with them, trying to get them back into the workforce, listening to their stories. And I think that it is important to talk about their struggles, but it's also important to talk about the path forward. The struggles are, from what I could see, is that once they've lost, say, 15, 20, 25 years in the professional setting, having opted out, they really have lost not only technical skills, but they have lost the ability to understand how people talk and relate and communicate, which is a much bigger skill to learn in the professional setting. They forget what it's like to work in groups, what it's like to form mini tribes that are actually functioning tribes, and opt into bigger ideas where there's large forms of ideas and shapes and things being communicated to create, say, a product or a service. That's a loss. Now, a lot of my friends have come to me and said, okay, I want to get back in and I want to do something musical. I want to have music allow me the opportunity to get back in. And the question is, how do you do it? So that's been somewhat of my journey in the last several, I would say 6 months to a year, is how do you have music be a powerful vehicle to take these amazing women and have them get back into the professional setting that they might have opted out of a while back? And I think the answer is very simple. I think music is an enormous opportunity and an ability and a vehicle to gain skills. I think music, not only listening, but listening with intent, learning how to have logic, learning software, learning programs, learning how to use Spotify lists, learning how to manipulate playlists and work on, your own playlist and music blog site, is use music as a way to gain a very narrow technical skill. And that technical skill will then give you mastery over a certain aspect of music, because music is so open-hearted and open-ended. And that is, to me, a fantastic way of getting back into a professional setting, and then having those 3 pillars back in your life instead of 2 pillars in your life. Because the taking care of the aging parents don't go away. The taking care of children is a lifelong proposition, but create room for yourself, right? To create a technical skill and re-enter the professional workplace. So that is my big learning, and I can go on and on and on about this topic because I have so many experiences, but that's been my learning over the last several months on this topic.
So Amrita, I want to ask you one thing. So you are a versatile creator because you are a singer, musician, designer, and as well a businesswoman with a strong academic as well, and as well strong career in a lot of different directions. So a lot of these things is about example. So what would be the balance that you made as a mother, as a wife, as a partner? So what were the things, because this is a very important thing. So it's about family balance, it's about career. And I know that especially in the Western world, for us, if you live in the Nordics, there's a lot of support for women because the career is much more balanced. For instance, I had colleagues when I live in Sweden that actually have taken entire year to take care of their children versus their women that stay in the career. And actually both father and mother could do that. I know that even in the UK is a disaster on that, where I am. So it depends a lot of the things. But of course, this is about as well making decisions. For instance, I have that in my own life, my wife and the decisions she makes versus her career and the education of our children. So how do you see this both on the personal level from your experience, and second, as a creator? Because like you said, for me, music heals me a lot. Mm-hmm. So 2 things: part you personal in terms of your career, because you have quite a lot of experience, and then second, as a creator, and how you use music as well to balance all these stresses and all these different things.
Well, for me, the 3 pillars very much is real. I have children that I'm continuously raising and trying to raise into empathetic human beings with a knowledge, with a curiosity of things that are happening around the world, both past, present, and imagining what a future could be. And that's, to create a whole child is a lifelong activity of cultivation. It's a relationship that you evolve with your child. And I know that my best example is my mother, who took a huge amount of interest in my career from when I was 5 years old to even now in her dying days. She asks me about what kind of film deal I've done. So I have the best example of a mother who has cultivated her daughter to having a fantastic career. So that's kids. The middle part is the career, right? There's no 2 ways about it. When you're raising small children and you are working, say 12 hours a day, it is really hard. There's no such thing as life balance. Okay? And then later as your career is maturing and you have a stability in your career, then you're confronted with aging and sick parents. I am participant in all 3, right? The career part is probably the most physically and mentally demanding because there's more harshness, there's more people that are gunning for your demise, there's more competition, there is more of that, particularly the paths I've chosen, there's a dog-eat-dog, warlike behavior in the career paths that I've chosen. So it's very emotionally hard, very physically hard, because you're always on the plane. I think what has gotten me through it and has allowed my career to connect to the other two is that my career for me has always been not just stuff I do, but an idea. I've always looked at my career as an idea that I'm going to build. And once I feel that the idea has stabilized, I want to share it back with my children and other people. And my simple idea that I want to evangelize the world on my career is that you have to work with good people. You have to work with good people, and you have to uncomfortably put yourself in a position of collaboration, even if it creates a lot of fights and temporary headaches. Because only good things will happen if you accumulate collaboration. And when I think about that idea of my career, I think about how I really want to tell my kids about it, how I want them to lean into having my younger son, because he watches me really tinker with logic and tinker with all these softwares. He just watched his mom do it and he got into it. He has a tendency to just go and do it himself. But I really try to tell him, meet with people, get in the studio with people. Even if it's annoying, just lean in, have a bias towards getting more people into your life than a bias towards becoming a reclusive person. So that is what carries me through the idea of going through the grind of a career, is that it's very much an idea that I can share back with people. And it's gotten me through the hard times. And by the way, the hard times are still ahead. Like, the hard times never end. You're always carrying some sort of a burden on all three fronts, right? But the ideas get you through what the real low points are.
Yeah, I completely subscribe, and I think it's very wise words, but very difficult. So let me go more layer. So where does the music comes? I'm not talking right now just as a creator. I'm talking about the way you use music to balance your life. Let's go through that, because I think that's a big thing for me as well.
Okay, so there's really a couple of ways to approach it, right? If you're a music listener and versus a music maker, I think those are two very approaches. If you're a music listener and a music curator, you have to find things that really get at your gut, get at your heart, and you have to create these playlists for different times of your day, right? So you have to lean into having a playlist that's about morning meditation and just do what speaks to you, right? Have a playlist for when you have to work. Have a playlist for when you have to get on a treadmill. Each time of your life, music is an energy source that propagates how you want to conduct your day, okay? So that advice I would really give to anybody who is trying to balance out their day, and their day is a valuable temple of activities, right? Your day matters. Your day is something you won't get back. So monitor your day, control your day, just the same way you would control your breath. And music is a fantastic tool to shape your day, right? As a technician, as a musical technician, it's a little bit different. Musical technique, particularly because I'm a vocalist, I use vocal and the concept of reyas, which is what they call in Indian classical music, it's just doing your scales, as a way to focus just on the note. Because if you focus on the note and the difference between a C note and a D note and an E note, that note is real. That note is actually coming from a specific vocal cord that mankind has said, this is the note C. Or in Hindustani music, this is the note Sa, right? So it is a very effective way of getting the noise out and focusing on what is that note that you're trying to sing, and what is the purity of that, whether you're playing a flute, that sound, whether you're singing something, the purity, even if you're plucking something in a guitar, the purity of the pluck, and if you're playing a piano, the purity of how you put your hand on that instrument. So a music technician has that much more layered of an opportunity to focus on the present.
That is fantastic. So one part that is, so coming back to your story, Your story was about a professional that left a career to focus on a family and then got out of the career world, and then when it comes, lost most of the skills. And as well, we are in a very complex world where the difference of skills, let's say if you go back 50 years, there were not startups, there were not companies that changed, there were not technology. Now we have things changing on a year scale that from even 6 months, things change from a completely radical perspective. For example, it was an interview that I saw that was touching that if you just go like, 50, 60 years ago, everything that we have right now about the idea of SMEs, entrepreneurship, about you having your own career would be completely impossible. But now, of course, it's everyone. And it's everyone about the career that blurs with life. Because, of course, our phones bring all the career to our daily life, and we might be with the children or might be with our families, and suddenly we have a message from our family or work or something like that, and suddenly disturbs us, and it affects everything. So how do you look at this as a professional and as a creator, and especially in the case of your story, because that story, I think, it's what makes this here. And of course, this is about career management or music for career, and not from the music of career in the sense of choosing music as a career, but using music to enhance your career and to balance some of the challenges that you have with your career.
Well, I'll cover a couple things on this topic. One is that the notion that you have to be a career person in today's environment where you don't really know what skills you need. I mean, the reality is now you have to have so many different skills and malleable skills to be able to operate in this heavy technology, AI-driven world that I love what Yuval Noah Harari says is the first time in history where you don't know what you're going to be doing 20 years from now. You may not be knowing what skills you need 5 years from now. So you have to be a fairly flexible person. But I think where this can get misinterpreted by people who are trying to do big things and trying to re-enter something is you can't necessarily say, well, I'm going to be very high level, just focus on the big ideas and be a jack of all trades. I believe that while that perspective is great to have, to get started, you have to have a technical skill. Without a technical skill that you master, it is not going to it's not going to shape your brain to where you can even absorb the other numerous types of information that you need to. As an example, in my life, right, I was always a very, very avid Bollywood singer. I listened and learned all the Bollywood music that basically established the business in the early days. I learned all those songs, and I, if you asked me back then, I just wanted to be a Bollywood playback singer. I realized that not only is that an impossible aspiration for me, I'm growing up in America, I'm not in India. But even if I were in India, that would be an impossible thing to achieve because that's like winning a lottery. But does that mean I'm not going to be a Bollywood singer? I'm not going to have an opportunity to sing Indian music ever again? No. But what I did have to do was I had to master it. I had to become better than anybody else in America doing that particular type of singing and use that skill to get myself in the room with Timbaland, in the room with A.R. Rahman, in the room with all these big artists to say, okay, I matter, okay? Then to be able to actually make it a commercializable project, you have to learn other things. You have to learn how to produce music. You have to learn how to play instruments, which luckily I knew. I learned classical piano. But getting into the weeds of the technology and learning composition and songwriting and structure and theory and being able to package that music with all sorts of other things was the very thing that still allowed me to be a Bollywood singer. But you got to start somewhere, right? You can't just say, oh, I'm going to be a master composer and I'm going to compose a Leonardo DiCaprio movie. It just doesn't work like that. You got to start small. You got to shrink. And once you shrink and define what it is that you are the one person out of 7 billion people and no one can do it better than you, once you shrink your concept, then you can expand your concept. And again, that's the point I believe in my career. That's when my career became much more of an idea than something I did. right? Because what I do better than anybody else is I'm a great Bollywood singer living in Los Angeles who has a tie to the film and television business. That's probably a handful of people in the world that can say they do that, right? But then how do I take something so narrowly, the way I define myself, and how do I create tentacles where it's an expanded idea of a career? That takes time, you know? It just takes time. But like I said, you got to start somewhere. And how can you use music? Music is very simple. Music is the best tool, again, to control your day. You can absolutely, I challenge you to do it today. I challenge you to have 6 playlists, and you will see how much of it's like a medicine. It's a beautiful medicine to be able to control the pace of your day so that you form better habits, so you keep present and you figure out your skills, your ambitions, and your idea. There's no better antidote for a distracted mind than music.
Well, this is special. Of course, I have probably 20 or 30 things out of this, but I want to wrap up here and wrap up with so we've been discussing how to use music for your career, as well the concept that is very beautiful, that first you shrink before you expand. And we spoke as well about how to make a balance between your personal career, especially if you are breaking that career for something that you do in your life. As a mother, if you take this time for taking care of your children, now you come back, or even if you have something that didn't work well, or health or something like that, that you can come back. So I hope that you shared these moments as I shared. And I want to thank everyone listening to us around the world for being here with us, with me and Amrita, sharing these special moments that we've been talking here. And hopefully come to our next one. Amrita?
Thank you, Dinis. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, I thank you, and it's been inspiring, and a lot of ideas that are popping on my mind, and a lot of more things we're going to do. So please come back to the next one, because we're going to continue with this series, and I hope you enjoy it as I am. Thank you so much, and please just search about Amrita on our social media channels. She's in Amrita Sen. You'll find her on Spotify. You'll find as well on her website and other things that you see. Whatever channel you're listening to us, you'll find their biography and social media links. Thank you so much, and welcome to the next one. Thank you.